Thanks for tuning in to Sportswomen Australia, a podcast shining the light on the up-and-coming and the bona fide stars of Australian women's sport, plus the female power brokers behind the scenes. Tiffany Cherry joining alongside my awesome co-host Amanda Salanti.
Hey Tiff, it's so good to be here and I'm so excited for the guest that we've got today.
We're amazing guest. She's achieved something that so many people would love to have achieved and already in her career so far. We're joined by the captain of the Australian Women's Rugby Sevens team, Sharni Williams. It's great to have you on the line, Sharni.
Hey guys, it's awesome to be a part of this. Thanks for having me.
So Sharni, I was actually on a plane coming back, on a Qantas plane coming back from the States a couple of weeks ago, saw you and the team and then just did a little bit of, of research into what was going on and found out that you guys were coming back from the Sevens World Series final in Colorado, which unfortunately you fell to the States in the final, but had a pretty awesome series.
Yeah, firstly, I hope we were pretty well behaved on that plane for you, and we
you
didn't.
were very well.
Didn't take up too much room with our big arms, big rugby players. But
you ate a bit of the food that I had my own, but that's all right.
Athlete life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was a great experience for us. It was actually a really amazing tournament to start us off for the season, and to make the final. Was something that we had really set our goal for starting that season off, and then to play against the US on home soil, the crowd really rallied behind them and brought them home. But for us to make a final was something that we really pride ourselves on, because last season it took us a good 4 tournaments before we could even get to the finals.
So what does the rugby season actually look like? So you've mentioned that this is the start of the season. How will the rest of the season play out?
Yeah, so it's actually pretty exciting for us this year. Last year we had 6 tournaments, so 6 destinations we went to, but this year we've actually got 8. And we're alongside the men, which is something that has really taken off, and it's part of that equality that's really stepping up. And you're starting to see it in more and more women's sports that have a men's team alongside it. So, we're going to places like Cape Town and Hamilton and Hong Kong and Paris alongside the men. And then we only have 2 standalone tournaments that are solely women's tournaments. So it's a pretty jam-packed year. So it'll start, as I said, we started a couple of weeks ago from October, and then we go right through till June. So most of those months we're away once a week. And then the beauty of July, which is the Olympics.
The piece de resistance. We'll get to that in a second, but just on the equality component, who drove that? Was it Rugby Australia? Was it the girls? How did it come about?
Well, I think it was inevitable, right? Like the amount of coverage, the amount of young girls putting their hands up to play this amazing sport. There had to be something sort of done with that, and what better way to make it equal and make it right than people rallying around it in terms of all countries really getting behind it, but then also World Rugby as well stepping up and really cementing it with the sponsorships and the host nations really putting their hand up to run a massive tournament. Obviously, you've got a lot of teams with the men's and women's going through there. The timetable is pretty hectic and full on, but it's just lucky that they're 14-minute games, so you can really get that turnover going.
And how have the men received this type of format with encouraging and welcoming the girls alongside them?
Yeah, I think the men have received it really well. They're so supportive of us. They actually sent us a video over to us to wish us good luck for the start of the season, which was actually really, I guess we could say really cute of them, because they actually really invested in each and every person that they spoke about. And they've got a huge season ahead of them with the Oceania coming up for them, and they've got to qualify for the Olympics. So I think we've really made this really great bond between us, because we want them to be at the Olympics with us, and obviously we've already qualified, so it's made that even more real for us that it's time for them to step up, and we have to support them doing it.
And can you give us a little insight into the video? The general theme of what they said?
Oh, yeah, it was mainly, Tim Walsh used to be our coach, and so he was our coach for the Olympics. And now he's, off coaching the men. So we always know his little quirky ways that he likes to come up with some amazing little, out of the box sort of unique thoughts. So each boy had one of the girls to talk about, and I think I took on board a lot of what Jesse Parahit said. He had his young daughter sitting there, and I've known him for a long time, and he just sort of said, Sharni, I know what you're capable of doing. You're a great leader. Really lead these girls the way that you're supposed to, and you're tough and rough, and you've got to lead by example. So get out there and do it. And then his little girl would just say, good luck. And that's the real moment of, what, we're more than just rugby players. We are actually human beings, and it's cemented that so much for me that it's not just rugby. Like, we're in this family sort of feel, and the boys really got our backs.
That's awesome.
So does that connection between the male player and the female player, does that stay throughout the season? Like, do you have some kind of buddy program that lasts longer than just that single video, or will it, is that kind of it?
Do you train together, or do you get together on different occasions?
So it doesn't really last as long as we'd hope, because obviously we're in and out at different training times, and we don't want to disturb the boys' preparation at the moment, because it is massive for them. They've solely got to focus on qualifying for the Olympics, but they know that we're in the background there really pushing them and making sure that they're staying accountable to what their job is, but also that we're here to support them as well. We watch their games, and we go up to them and say, oh, you probably could have just shifted that a bit earlier, and they're like, yeah, we know. There's a few little feedback things like that, but because I've been around the program for so long, I know a lot of those boys, so I'm trying to slowly introduce the younger girls to know who the boys are and not be too shy. Because it's almost like being at school with the younger girls. It's like, oh, do I talk to him or do I not? So you just got to sort of push them off the edge and say, they're just human beings as well, mate. So get up there and just have a chat.
It sounds like there's a coaching element to you. Obviously, you've been around. I think you started in playing rugby for Australia back in 2008, then switched to Sevens in 2011. Do you see that coaching, is that an aspiration for you, and maybe not just within the women's program potentially? Yeah,
I mean, what rugby has given me is something that I never ever thought I would have. I never thought I'd be the person I am today, especially being a leader and leading your country. A small country girl, 1,500 people, grew up in Batlow. So the opportunities and the growth that the game has given me is something that I would love to give back, and I still do give back even though that I'm playing. But I definitely thrive off helping others and seeing positive change in people as well. So it's definitely a pathway for it, and we need more and more coaches and referees and more people in the game to help grow it.
So what was it like growing up as a kid for you? Was sport something that's always been incredibly important, or did you have other things on your mind?
Sport was definitely my outlet. As I said, it was a small country town. There wasn't a lot of things to do. It's known for the apples, so you just sort of, work away and go and work in the orchards.
Where was it, Sharni?
Apples.
Where did you grow up? Pardon?
In Batlow.
Right, yep.
Yeah, Snowy Mountains, so 2.5 hours from Canberra.
And rugby was obviously one of the sports that was played in the area, and how did you then fall into playing it?
Yeah, so rugby league was actually played around that area, so it was Group 9. I didn't start rugby till I turned 20 and moved to Canberra for hockey, actually. So, wow. I played hockey with Emma Flanagan and a couple of those girls that were in a part of the Hockey Roos for a little while. And then, as I said, 2008, I debuted for rugby where my ex-girlfriend was actually asked me to come and play. And, I was like, okay, we'll give it a shot. Watched a couple of games and I saw these girls just absolutely smashing each other. And I was like, whoa, I want to be a part of that. That's my game. That's where I want to be. So, I think I played about 4 games and then made the ACT team and then played another 4 games there and made the Australian team. So it was a very quick transition.
Meteoric rise.
Yeah. Well, as I said, I played sport my whole entire life. That was my little outlet out of the country where Mum and Dad would just trip me around and they would, at the drop of a hat, if I made a team, they would, find the money, find the time off and drive me there. And mainly it was to Canberra to Sydney, and Sydney to Batlow is like 6 hours. So it's lucky my dad's a truck driver because he was able to drive because Mum didn't want to drive in the city.
So Sharni, what are the best apples?
Oh, the best apples. I'd have to say Pink Lady.
Yeah, my favourite too, definitely.
Yeah.
So getting back to the hockey then, you decided to obviously pass it over for rugby. Was there potentially a pathway for you for hockey as well?
Yeah, like growing up, hockey was the sport that I picked. So I had to pick between touch and hockey. Once it starts to get to that elite level, you sort of got to focus on one sport because it was just taking up so much time. So I was part of the end Swiss for hockey, and then when I moved to Canberra, I was part of the ACT there. And I guess, once I saw rugby, I just saw like, oh, this culture's sort of down my alley, and it rings true to the country girl in me that just wanted to get out there and really showcase what I was about in putting my body on the line for someone. I put my body on the line all the time for hockey, but it just wasn't that fulfilling part as much as what rugby had given me. I looked up to Alison and I got to run the torch relay with her in 2008, and then I got to see her again over in Rio. They were staying at the same hotel as us, and those moments were pretty cool for hockey because that's where my first role model for hockey was Alison and was actually able to be a female, where when I went to rugby there were no females playing, so there was no role model for me to aspire to. So it had to be Sterling Mortlock from the Brumbies that I then looked up to.
So you mentioned that there's a bit of a culture difference between the hockey and the rugby. Can you tell us just a little bit more about that culture difference and what specific things really did draw you into the rugby?
Yeah, I guess it was, I've done a lot of reflection over the years, and I guess looking back, I was quite young playing hockey, and I'd played hockey for such a long time. And I was probably quite homesick when I did move to ACT. I wasn't used to all those roundabouts, all the traffic lights. But I think, just the growth that rugby gave me in terms of family and community was, and that's what I grew up with. I grew up with everybody knowing who I was in Batlow and, rallying around me, but me being able to help them do things and babysitting kids and just being around that community feel. And that's what I got from rugby, was being around friends that had kids or friends that were out doing other things on weekends. So you'd go and play rugby, but then you'd go and have a few beers with your mates afterwards, where that wasn't so much seen in the hockey because I was at that elite level and I was already just like, no, I probably put myself in that position where I didn't want community because I wanted to make it to the Hockey Roos, where rugby was just sort of the chill social side for me up until 2012.
So you're starting out, you switch over to rugby, and as you said, you kind of have to be the Sterling Warlock, or he was the person you looked up to. How was it then forging your own pathway and forging that pathway for women who followed you?
Yeah, I mean, it's still sort of forging that way, and it's still that unknown factor. Like, it's what's right, what's wrong, how far do you push, what are the, you always like start comparing as well, like what do the men get, what do the women not get. I mean, at the early stages, I was just gobsmacked with the things that we didn't actually get compared to the men. Even just like a training facility, like a training facility to be able to train under lights. Canberra's quite cold and gets very dark, and you just didn't have any lights. And
so much for chivalry, right? The girls play out in the dark at night time when there's.
That's why you got so good at catching a ball, because you just put your hands up. Couldn't see it. And like with rugby at the moment, you've got a great pregnancy policy in place. We've stepped up the money side of things. It's not equal yet, but we're trying to push there. We've been part of the CBA in Rugby Australia. We've got women's uniforms. We didn't have that for such a long time. We've got an amazing base that we train at. There's just so many things that have gone forward from when I first started. I mean, ACT was great at welcoming me in, but I was the only female training with the Brumbies.
Wow.
Anyone would love doing that, and I did, but at the same time, it would be nice to have some other females around to train with. So that's how I learnt to tackle, and how I learnt to play the game was running against 15-year-old boys and tackling them. And now some of those 15-year-old boys are in the Australian Sevens team. So, yeah, I mean, you wouldn't change your story because it's made you who you are. But for that next generation, it's going to be 10 times better for them, because they're going to have lifelong friends because they've grown up playing the game, and the skill level is just going to be through the roof because they've already started at 8 years old.
It's a consistent theme that we're hearing through so many sports, I suppose, over the last 3 to 7 years. Exactly what you've just said. The girls have done it the hard way and played with the boys, and therefore those that have gone through from that younger age have really got some great skills. But I think that point that you just made, the camaraderie and the community and the connection, can you let the person outside rugby know, on average, what does a national rugby player make? What's it, as you talked about, the money's not equal yet, but what is it for women as opposed to the men?
As opposed to men, I don't know what the men are earning anymore, but they were up past the 100,000 mark. For us, we're probably sitting around 80 or so for a high, like an elite person that's won the gold medal. It could be even more, because we're actually not allowed to talk about our earnings with each other. It's part of our contract, but they're the sorts of prices we're looking at. Like, it could be 10 times better. Me being a mechanic, I could have gone all the way through, and I could be earning 10 times more than that in the mines. But you know what? The mines doesn't give me the moments or the enjoyment that I get from representing my country, the experiences, all those things. It doesn't give me that, but it doesn't also set me up for life after rugby as much either. So there's, you have to weigh it up, right? You're doing it for a decade, and it's like, well, what am I going to walk away with? Not money. I'm going to walk away with the moments and the experience, and hold my head high that I've done everything I can to leave the sport in a better light for that next generation.
So, Sharni, you did just mention the Olympics before, after the gold medal performance that you had at the Rio Olympics, where you were captain, and that was the first time that actually played the rugby sevens at the Olympics as well. Can you take us back to that time and that experience, and did you ever think it was possible that you were going to be winning a gold medal at the Olympics?
That gives me goosebumps, you just saying that. Like, it brings back so many memories. Yeah, I was an 8-year-old kid that had a massive dream. I stood in the living room of my auntie's house and I said, I'm going to be an Olympian. And that young kid won a gold medal. So that dream lasted from 8 years old right up to, 29. So to have
21 years.
To have a dream like that and to accomplish it is amazing. You know, like it's just something that you probably don't reflect on enough either, and I probably don't give enough credit to myself enough about it. But there's the training that we did, the preparation that we did. We did so many things. We talked about the gold medal every single day. We said we were going to win it. And as I said, we had Tim Walsh as our coach that came up with so many little ideas. And, you know, we did a 100-day challenge where we didn't eat chocolate or have alcohol. Now, not eating chocolate for a female is really tough. So for everybody in that team to commit to it was something special. And that team, you look back and you do reflect on them because that team was extremely special. I haven't come across a team that can connect like that, like we did, and everybody be on the same page at once. You know, people say it's not possible. Yeah, you might have to carry one person, but when we walked out onto that field for that gold medal final, we were pumped. We were excited. And I think we'd already played the game in our head. We'd already won it. So by the time we got out there to play, all we had to do was just do the basics. We had that gold medal sitting up on the crossbar and we were defending it. There was no way New Zealand were going to take that off us. And yeah, towards the end, they definitely hit back and scored a couple of tries there, but you could see the belief in everybody. You look around, you make eye contact with each of those girls once they scored that try, and there was like this glimmer of, it's okay, we've got this. And I think that's what everybody wants in life, right, is for someone to look at them and invest in them and support them and feel wanted and needed. And that's what we got as a team every time we went out onto that field. So I hope I've explained that to the way that it was played, because it was just something that you can never get back, but you can always remember.
It was awesome. You brought tears to my eyes. And I think when you talk about having played that game in your head over and over to the point where the actual match was just the basics, that's what so much of sports psychology is all about. So you guys were at that level. I've got so many questions, but I wanted to ask you on just at the tail end of it as you were describing it, can you take us into those final moments when you know that you've got that gold medal? Can you just take yourself back onto the field and take us with you?
Yeah, it was pretty unreal. As I said, we looked at each other, we looked at the clock, and we just knew we had it. And the fact that our parents had put in so much effort, they had, got T-shirts, they were all sitting together, and all we did was look up to those stands, and all our family were just standing up. Because, that's your biggest support system, right? You put so much of your life on hold for those exact moments to see how hard you can push your body, to see how hard you can believe, and to see how amazing the feeling of that, but knowing that your family were there to support you. There's something about us Aussies playing on home soil or having a home crowd that brings out so much light and joy in us. So for us to stand there and see our parents up there and know that we had completed a dream that we had been working hard for 4 years. We all moved from different areas centralised ourselves at Narrabeen Academy of Sport. We moved down for 10 grand for the year. That was it.
Wow.
And we rallied around each other like a little family. We tried to find each other's like places to stay, housing, because we're staying at Narrabeen Academy of Sport. So, looking for housing for each other. But you're on 10 grand, so you got not much to be able to pay rent, and going surfing with each other, and dinners and all those things. Just all the tough times when we did all those sleds. Oh, no, just the hurt and the pain of being a professional athlete, because it was so new to us, was so much worth it. And it just brought back all the memories of watching the 2000 Olympics, the Hockey Roos, when they won the gold medal and stood up on the podium. And when I got to stand up on that podium, it felt just as it looked at those games.
Wow. When you talk about the team and bringing that amazing team together, wasn't the team, there was screening done across a variety of sports that brought a number of the girls into that squad?
Yeah, so they did some screenings. They also did some scouting from touch football, so we got a lot of girls from touch. But we got Ellia Green from Melbourne, from a Talent ID day, which they still run now because they got so much good work out of it. A couple of beach sprinters, a basketballer. So yeah, we did a lot of scouting for it, because it was a sport that 15s was such a dominant sport for the women, but sevens was sort of the unknown of women playing it. So 15s body types aren't suited to sevens. We'd say 15s for all shapes and sizes, where sevens are for those greyhounds that run around and are energetic and ready to go. So the scouting was really specific. It was done on testing the yo-yo, so we don't do the beat test anymore. So we test on yo-yo, we test on speed, catch pass. There's so many little tests that are done to make the ultimate sevens player, and then they get to go and play some games and learn and critique their skills, which is what we did to these girls. In Shannon and myself was mainly the rugby players that came from 15s, and we just ran at these girls and made them tackle us. We're the bigger bodies of the team. If you can tackle us, you can tackle anyone. And we just put our bodies on the line, just making these girls get up, hit us, get up, hit us. And you'd have bruises and it'd be rough, but that's what you did for your teammates to be better, and that's what you did for that gold medal.
So speaking about the rough and tumble of the game, you did sustain quite a horrific injury a year or two ago, wasn't it? And I was just reading an article about the surgery that you had to have on your leg that talked about holes being drilled into your ankles and ropes to pull your bones back together. Can you talk us through that? Because it just sounded like the most horrific thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, I went into a bit of detail to make it a bit gory, didn't I? So I've had two surgeries so just before the Olympics. So I've never been really injured before. And just before the Olympics, obviously that was a massive stepping stone for me. I dislocated my patellofemoral ligament, which is my kneecap ligament, off the bone. That was December 2015.
Wow.
So we then played in July 2016.
How did you do that?
Yeah, it was mentally challenging. I think I am quite blessed with a lot of positive vibes, and I'm able to get through the negative stuff quite well. But it was just goal setting. So it was, okay, today I'm going to walk with my leg bent. I'm going to bend it. And then it was the next day, okay, I'm going to get half a circle like a semicircle on the bike, or I'm trying to get a full turn on the bike. And I'd just celebrate those little wins every time I would get somewhere. But it was extremely hard being a captain and not being able to be on that field with those girls while they were training for the Olympics. So that was quite tough. But then also I've had the ankle injury, which is the one I was talking about being drilled. So that was Commonwealth Games, and it was the second game of the first day, so I didn't get to play the rest of the Commonwealth Games, and I did my syndesmosis. So that's the ligament that holds your ankle together to do the dorsiflexion.
Yeah, so the tibia and the fibula, the two bones in your lower leg.
Oh, yes. Physio.
Yes.
You got it? Yeah. And so what they do is they drill the hole through the tib and fib and put a rope in, so a little button on one side and the rope on the other, and that acts as my ligament now.
That's
it's quite interesting what they do.
It's pretty amazing.
So that got me back 7 weeks for recovery. So when your mind is set on something, your body will achieve it, right? So I just set out and went, I'm going to come back, and I did that same process with my knee. But yeah, the knee was definitely the hardest mentally, because, I thought my Olympic goal was gone, and I really had to change that mindset to think, no, one step at a time, one day at a time, keep moving forward.
Great advice.
And not only did you make it to one Olympics, but we've now qualified for the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. Do you allow yourself to fantasize again about stepping on top of that podium? Like, how do you think we're going to go?
Hell yeah, I do. I'm super excited about this next Olympics, because people think there is so much pressure on us, and people are putting the pressure on us, but it's up to us to handle that, and it's up to us to have the mindset to think how we want to think. Because no one has ever done a back-to-back of winning a gold medal for rugby. Rugby was the first year in Rio, and we were to win the first ever gold medal, and no one can take that away from me. So that's even more exciting. But to think that I'm going to be 32 years old out there still playing with these young girls, and training extremely hard, and get to do it all over again, but my dream is different. So I'm not that 8-year-old kid that's dreamt right up to 29. I am now a 31-year-old with a new dream. So it's extremely exciting, and yeah, I definitely think about that podium every single day. Every single day I wake up and have to drive an hour into training in the traffic, and then an hour home. It's those little things, getting a surprise yo-yo test, and it's like, okay, I'm going to embrace this. I'm going to adapt to my environment, and I'm going to give everything every single day, because at the end of the day, that feeling I had in Rio can be made again, and that doesn't ever really happen to many people, that they get another chance at it.
Before I ask you the next question, I just want to ask you, Sharni, for those who are listening and know nothing about rugby sevens, or yo-yo, what is a yo-yo test?
Yo-yo test is like the beep test, but it goes up a lot faster, and it goes up in steps of 6. So you're running out 20 metres out, 20 metres back, and then you got a 10-metre walk.
Right, so it makes sense, a yo-yo, which goes up and down really fast, of course.
Yeah,
so
and it starts getting faster and faster.
I can imagine. So let's look at your opposition. So obviously you just fell a couple of weeks ago to the US, but you defeated Russia 38-zip, France 40-zip in the semi-final. There's obviously the UK and New Zealand. Where is Australia ranked in amongst the main contenders who've qualified?
Yeah, so for the season we ranked 4th overall, but I definitely think we're a much better team than that, and we're so much fitter than we were last season. We've had an amazing pre-season, a new S&C with Tom Carter coming on board. Our staff are actually extremely close and united, which helps with, I think, the cohesion of the team. Our staff get in and actually do all the sessions with us. So we've been doing a lot of heat chamber stuff because it's going to be extremely hot over in Tokyo. They're looking at 60% humidity, 40 degrees. So it's going to be very ugly, but everybody's in study mode, trying to figure out what's the best way and how can we combat that and how can we prepare for that leading up to it. But, there's New Zealand always going to be the number one team that, our opposition. They're just so good with the ball in hand, and we have to try and get, obviously the ball off them. Canada are up there. They're like our little bogey team. Every now and then they'll get a win over the top of us and get courage and confidence, and we have to go back out there and sort of take it from them. It's so hard with sevens because it's so unknown. If you can hold on to that ball, then you're pretty much going to win. If you drop the ball, that's pretty much a try. So you have to be extremely disciplined with the ball, and you have to take your chances, especially against New Zealand. Once they give you a sniff, you have to actually counteract that and turn it into a try. So, I mean, USA are unreal at the moment. We talk about USA being amazing athletes, and they are in everything. They really do. It's just about them getting a football brain. We're so technically skilled in our rugby and our that we've got to overtop them with that. But they're such big bodies that Australians are so small compared to Americans. So we really have to grit our teeth and go hard at them.
Just one final one. The Australian women's rugby team, they're the Wallaroos, but I was trying to find the moniker, the nickname for the rugby sevens, but there is none. Is there going to be one, or can you tell us the reason why there isn't one?
Yeah, well, there's not officially one. So when we do domestic tournaments, say we went to the Central Coast and played in that, or we've been to Noosa and played sort of their Darwin Hotter Sevens, we're known as the Pearls. Yep. But it's not on paper, so that's one of the processes of going forward is, figuring out who are we, what do we want to be named as. It's still obviously so fresh, but it's definitely something that we're working towards.
Are there any little contenders? Can you give us a sneak peek of apart from the Pearls, of what it might be?
Don't know. It could be the Pearls, could be the Boomerangs, it could be...
I like that one. That's a good one. Maybe we could start a competition.
Maybe
we could start a competition.
Yeah, we should do a poll, right?
Let's do absolutely. Get the community involved.
Give us your best name.
Yep, I reckon. Let's start it up. Well, Sharni...
That'd be awesome.
Let's do it. We're on to it. So on the back of that, it's just an absolute pleasure to speak with you. I know Amanda's nodding her head here. We've both loved it. And as I said, just from sitting on that plane and obviously watching you guys a few years ago in Rio, just being inspired and just starstruck by what you guys were able to achieve and the rest of Australia was. But you've just continued on, and listening to your story has been really inspirational.
Yeah, thanks so much, Sharni. Absolutely loved listening to you.
Thank you so much, guys. This is what it's about. It's people like yourselves that are really rallying around women's sport and making it, known to others. I think it's really important that people really dive in and do some study on what women's sport is. And not just athletes, we are human beings as well, and we've all got some amazing stories to be said. And it's just really nice that you guys are on board. Thank you.
Sharni, thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute thrill to listen to your story and to hear what you've been through, how this team's come together, and obviously the rise of the Australian Women's Rugby Sevens. And no doubt all of Australia will be behind you as you guys go back to back, hopefully in Tokyo.
Thank you guys so much, and love all your support. Cheers.
And you can follow Sharni on Instagram at Sharni_Will. You can also follow the rugby team at Aussie Sevens. And another really great resource is the rugbyaustralia.com.au website, which has some really good information about a uni competition that's on at the moment. And don't forget that you can also follow us at Sportswomen Australia on Instagram and Facebook, and Sportswomen AU on Twitter. And all that information can be found below in our show notes.
And don't forget, in the show notes, we're going to have a competition to see what we should be nicknaming the Australian Women's Rugby Sevens. Should it be the Pearls or the Boomerangs or something else? Let us know what your thoughts are.